Hello and welcome to our afternoon make here in the UK and on the animal site. So we've done a lot of very complicated types of makes in the last few weeks, in fact getting on now for about 6 weeks. So I thought today we'd go for something a little bit easier. So I'd like to introduce you to Scruff. Anyway, so we're going to have a go at making a nice simple little scruffy mongrel dog. Bit of fun. Okay. So Scruff is actually a pinch pot underneath here. I actually started him off as actually making a pinch pot egg. That's not really necessary. I ended up cutting a lot of it out. You can get away with just a straightforward pinch pot. Right. Let's put a Scruff over there for a minute. So get a lump of clay, nice good size. Make a pot, but you want something that is a quite sort of pointed pinch pot, so not something that you would be putting something in. So get it like that, shape it into a sort of a point at one end, hold it in your hand, put your thumb in and shape it out. What I'm aiming to do as well is make sure that the bottom curves in a bit, so that on his bum it's not coming down into a straight, it's coming down into a curve as you would expect on a real animal. So starting thinning it out at the bottom of the pot, or the top, whichever way you lead it, and then working your way down, and when you get to the bottom bit just sort of curve it in, bring your hand round and sort of curve it in. Now the great thing about Scruff is the pinch pot doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to cover it with a lot of fur. But I don't want it to be too heavy, so I'm trying to make it fairly thin. So we have that basis for the body. Excuse me, Scruff. We come down by here. We put you there where you can watch what's going on. Then we need to decide what's going to be the front and what's going to be his back. So I think, looking at this one, this front's going to be there. Okay, and what I'm then going to do is I'm just going to make sure that folds in well and put a little bit of a crease in it, just a tiny bit, to make show where his belly would be, so I end up with something that's sort of that sort of shape underneath. Okay, so that's going to be those. Either side of that is going to be the two legs, although I am going to put some extra clay on there as well. Next then, we need the head. Now Scruff's head is very much like a Old English sheepdog. So first of all, make sure we've got the right size. They're quite big heads, quite broad muzzles. It's a very similar shape to what I do when I'm making a cow's head, actually. Now, of course, this bit is going to be visible, so I need to make sure that that's reasonably smooth. It gives a nice contrast then to the rough bit. It's going to go there. Now, to make sure that we don't get any problems with drying, I'm going to make a pinch hole in it, so I'm just going to put my thumb in it and just shape it round my thumb a bit to get the shape back. So that becomes a mini pinch pot. Then I quite like the idea of him looking off to one side, so work out where that's going to be, about there, make a hole in so that the air can flow from the head into the body cavity, rough up the head, nice dollop of slip all the way around, okay, and put it on. Now I've got a bit of a gap here at the bottom, but I'm going to fill that in a moment. You want it in position so it's fairly far forward over the top of the legs. So I'm going to move it forward just a little bit more, like that. And yet nice, and have a nice flow on the back. So now I'm going to get a bit more clay. work that in. Round the one way and round the other way. Always remember, go across, not along a join. Make sure it's well and truly on. Let's head up a little bit, looking up like that. So now I'm going to fill in that gap under there. Again, making sure I don't block off the hole that allows the air to flow. Under there. Work that in. You can probably already see that on the clay that I used for scruff. I used a little bit more clay, made the body a little bit bigger. But by the time we've added all the extra clay to it, it should be alright. Got that. And of course, the great thing about doing a scruff like this is there's no eyes to think about. So it does have floppy ears, so make a pair of ears, again make them as one piece, so you can make sure they're both about the same size, same thickness, same roundness, and cut them in half. Pinch it in very slightly at the end, nice bit of slip. It works well if the ears are slightly sort of coming out and away from the head, so they don't hang straight down, because you've got so much fluff. If they were hanging straight down, you wouldn't see them. So you want them sort of coming out a little bit like that. This is how Labrador's ears come out as well, so same sort of idea. Later on, when you've got all the fluff on, if you decide that you don't like them too far out, you can always, of course, bring them down a bit, but it's better to start with them far enough out to give you room to work. Coil in at each side. Along the top there, work it in, make sure it's not going to fall off. There. There. Now I'm going to thicken up his legs here at the bottom with a bit more clay. Kaya, stop it. Because I don't want this curve that I've currently got here at the bottom, I want the legs to come straight down. So I'm going to add a bit of clay in. About there. So let's just slip on it, make those a little bit. That. Same on there. I made them a bit thin. I should have made them thicker sausages, but I'm going to go there. And just work them in. Of course, you could make them completely separately if you wanted to. Have a bit of a gap between them. I'm just trying to make this the easiest way possible. Smooth it in underneath. Make sure it's all worked in. Okay, that's better. Next, we need to start making scruff look like a scruff. So the first thing I'm going to do is, before I start adding extra clay, I am just going to literally go over and just rough him up a bit. Now this isn't going to be the finished effect, but by having the clay roughed up to start with underneath, it does help the overall effect. Then, sorry scruff, I need the banding wheel. Now we start working him up. So now I get some clay. Now if you've got an extruder, you can use an extruder. If not, it's quite sufficient just to roll some coils. Oops, his bum's gone in a bit far, so I'm just going to pull him back out a bit. Yeah. And in fact, having hand-rolled lumps like this gives you a much more uneven finish. So if you're looking for a really sort of rough and scruffy, this is actually the best way to do it. If you want them to look like a pedigree Old English, it's ready for the show ring, then you might want to use an extruder. Then, good coat of slip all over, start with. I just realised something important I've forgotten, and put his back feet on. I fix that, and to do that all I need is 2 fat lumps of clay, both about the same size. Shape them in so they come to a point like that. Lift it up and stick them on the side there. On there. On the other side. You're not sitting straight. Let's tidy you up a bit better. On the other side. Too much slip. Again, if you don't do that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that much, really, because by the time he's finished, he's going to have so much fur on, probably won't see them anyway. Right, so let's try again. So we aim to put the fur on very much like a real animal, so it hangs down the body like that. So we put these dreadlocks on. Doesn't matter if they don't match up, because by the time we've squished it all out, they're going to come together. Again, remember where his spine is, because that's where the line's going to go. That's if you're being really finicky about it. If you're not, doesn't matter. He's a scruffy dog. Now for the same on the other side. All this is doing is just giving you some extra clay to work with to be able to move it around. You need this extra sort of thickness. Get a tool. Something like this is fine, or you could do this with your fingers. I find it better with a tool because I can actually sort of cut in. And what I'm going to do first of all is just come here, is just sort of press it in, make sure it's well and truly stuck. Gets the body like that, and then I'm going to, following the line of the fur, I'm going to sort of cut into it and mush it in all the time. As I say, we want it to look like fur, so you've got to remember which way the fur will flow and cut into it to give that shaggy, lovely shaggy effect. And by having the extra clay there, that gives you that extra depth to be able to make it sort of really shaggy. If you just left it bare like this and tried to do it, you can't get the same effect. You've got to have that extra bit of clay to really move it around. Okay, same on the other side. Again, first of all, just press it down, make sure it's stuck. And then we'll start to, again, cut into it. Make it flow. started to get a bit of a shaggy jacket going. So add a bit more. And just work the bottom here, and that's easiest done by picking him up, so I can really get that in without the interference of the banding wheel. Now we need to do his bum. Not too much yet, because we're going to put a tail on, and when we put the tail on we're going to need to add a bit more first. Just a little bit there. Now I'm going to do this bit here, patch at the front. Hi Katie, glad you could join us. There's a bit more slip. Who is Doodly Woodly? Front now. Picking up bits off the cloth. Not sure what that was, but I'm not taking any chances. I want it to be a bit of glaze. It's more like to be a bit of cheese actually, because it's probably my lunch. But there we go. Got some nice fur around the legs. Now the fur around the legs is not going to be quite so long, it's going to be little short bits. So I can use little pieces of clay in there. Let's work that in, let's have that round here. Make sure it's stuck, and then work it. Follow the flow. Away. And the legs, little short bits. I'm going to give him some paws as well before I'm done, so I'm not quite going right to the bottom just yet. For his face. So starting to look a little bit like a sheep now, which actually is modelled on an old English sheepdog, and they are supposed to look like sheep. That's probably not a bad thing. So what I'm going to do now is start to bring some dreadlocks, if you like, over his face, a bit like we did when we did the cow. Bring those over there. I need some bits under his ears as well, because I need some clay to work with there, so just put a bit of extra clay there for now. Those big fat lumps all over the face and down the back of the neck, because I want it to match up with the piece here. So again, so I've got more clay to work with in a minute. Try not to squash him too much like I just did, poor fella. Slip. Be warned, the feeling that you're making a sheep will continue for some time, as I discovered when I made him earlier. I'm going to make that a bit longer. Oh, okay, so I'll add a bit more under here. Slip. Down there. start to work this in. Because it's the head, and it's the head that people tend to look at first with anything like this, a little bit more care now. So we need to make sure it's on, so start by just pressing it down, just making sure it's there, and then working it in. Give the effect of fur. All the way under the ears as well. Should I get those? Almost sort of cutting it into pieces, if you like, so that it's that effect of breaking up. Not a really rough coat. Work on his face a bit more. Down. Just suddenly got the urge to turn those into horns. Making far too many cows these days, I think. Nice scruffy face. A little bit flat on the top of the head here. I want to give him a little bit more of a rounded head. Doesn't look quite so much like a sheep. So I'm just going to add some more clay to it. Like that. Work it in. Now, to start to make him look like a dog, not a sheep, we need a nose. We've got this lovely big muzzle to put a nice big nose on. So, round ball of clay, pinch it in, squash it down, and you have a dog's nose. And that's going to go there. It's rather a big nose, so I'm actually going to just flatten it off at the back a bit. Make it fit better. Nice bottle of clay. It starts to look a bit more like a dog now, a bit less like a sheep. On. Because he's a sort of caricature, I can get away with the nose being a little bit bigger than it would normally be, I suspect. Right, now I'm just going to work that in at the back. There's a nose to fall off. Like that. Add a little bit of fur to his ears, but not too much because I don't want to lose them in the middle of all of this, but I do want them to look like he hasn't just had his ears trimmed. So I'm just going to put a little bit of clay on, give me a little bit more thickness, so just a tiny little bit, which I can then work in and around, furry ears. One side, furry ears on the other. Just fiddling with the nose, make sure it's on. Yep, come back here. That's better. They do now look like they're his ears. Next, I'm sort out his paws. So I want to give him some nice big paws as well. And I'm going to do that by getting some sausages of clay, which I'm going to put round the base of each piece there. Like that. The same around there. And work those in. Shape them too much. Put there. This one actually on. Right, I'll turn them upside down because we've got that bit to rub in there. So I'll sort that out. Nice and smooth. On the other side. Now, having got him in my hand, I can now shape them so it's a nice, much more rounded foot there. I'm going to do the same with the back feet as well. But because only a bit of them sticking out, I don't have to go right the way around, so I just put a little bit of sausage around there. Smooth it in, side, shape it a little bit, same on the other foot. This one sticks out a bit further so I can put a bit more of a paw on it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some indents in so they actually look like his feet. Right. Actually got his pads there. Nice big flumpy hairy feet. Same on the back here. Fur a little bit around them. A little bit more to that foot there. Okay. Now, it's missing something here at the back. Let's fix that. He needs a tail. No good with that one. Now I think I'm going to have the tail stuck up a little bit at the back. So I'm just going to nice thick chunky sausage, which I'm then going to affix to this bare patch I've left here, which, as I said earlier, I purposefully left so that I have somewhere to put the tail. Can't have a dog without a tail. Again, upside down, make sure that's stuck on properly. Stuck on up properly while I got him upside down as well. A little bit of clay now round that base. This will do two things. One is, of course, it will give you the fluffiness, but you can also use this to make sure the tail is well and truly attached. we can have that round there. Obviously we've got to do more with his tail yet, because he's got to be fluffy too, but we can get that on, and then we can stick it against the tail as well as down his back. That will help to for a good strong tail. Now, to make that look a little bit less indecent, we now need to put some fur on it. Same as before, roll out some sausages. Edges slip. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drape the sausage over the tail like that, so it hangs down on either side. So now I can work those in. First of all, make sure they're on properly, and then shape them into sort of shaggy knots hanging off his tail. One side, now for the other. Again, make sure they're on. You might want to bring them round a bit to the back of the tail as well, so we've got some more clay in place to work with. So we need to make sure we're not showing a bare patch of tail here. Put those in again. Follow the tail. Way. And then on the top. It's very easy with doing one of these to accidentally flatten things, so it's always worth checking whether you've stuck your finger in somewhere. So we've got a little tail. Now let's work on his face. Thankfully there's not much face to work on, but I want to make sure that nose is on nice and straight first of all, and is on properly, isn't going to come off. That'd be catastrophic. So get his nose on, looking right. Then I'm going to mark out where his mouth's going to be. So it's going to come straight down from his nose in a line like that. Then I'm going to open his mouth up. So he has quite a nice sort of smiley mouth, so give him a bit of a smile to start with. Like that. I could leave him like that, but that's not nearly so much fun. What we can actually do now is get the knife in there and actually cut open the mouth. And now we could either put in a tongue, or if you wanted to, a row of sausages hanging out the side or something like that. Make sure you shape the mouth so it doesn't stick out. The lips, the underside of the lips of course are slightly smaller than the top, so you don't want him with a stuck out jaw. And then if you're going to do a tongue, aim to make it nice and long, but don't make it too thin, remember, otherwise it's going to get broken. And again, this type of big shaggy dog, you can get away with having a nice big tongue, big wide tongue hanging out of his mouth. And again, it looks rather cute if the tongue is hanging out the side of the mouth rather than directly in the front. So let's just clean up the mouth. Slip on one end and put his tongue in, and you've got a nice long fluffy dog like that. To make it a tongue, we just put a little groove down the middle, like that. And there we have him, all finished. So you don't have to have a tongue, you could have his mouth shut, although he does look rather cute with it in. Or you could have something hanging out of his mouth, you could have an old slipper, you could have a ball, whatever. But when you're finished, one last thing to do is just go over it again. If necessary, sort of shape and mould it a little bit. Make sure you haven't lost any of the fur, or you've squashed any of the fur during your handling of it. And just tidy up the edges. And make sure the feet touch the ground. Here, his foot actually is not actually on the ground, so make sure that goes down. Tidy up in here. So make sure his fur is all going in the right direction. And there we go, Scruff Mark II. So I'll keep you going for a few days. There won't be a presentation this Wednesday. The next one will be on Friday. So I'll catch up with you then. Cheers.